Are you stretched then still? With numbers?
We're always stretched, but there's always more we can do, and there's always better use we can make of technology. There's always better ways of us focusing on who the high risk offenders are and focusing on the harm that they do. So there's always more we can do. In the winter of this year, we'll be inspected for the first time for ages and ages, and that's a real opportunity to look closely at what we do.
Why has that fallen over?
Partly
Not
expense. So
expense.
the Department of Home Affairs will pay best part of £100,000 for this piece of work.
Explain who comes in.
So Her Majesty's Inspector of Constabulary and Fire and Rescue Services will do two pieces of work, one with the Fire and Rescue Service and one with the Constabulary.
And this is what they do in the UK all the time, is it?
Well,
That's their job?
Each force in the UK is inspected 3 times a year on average.
Oh, right. And your last time was when?
Oh, God, 2003, 4, 5, sometime like that. A long time ago.
That's not, I mean, you sound like you'd like more yourself even. Well, it sharpens yourself up, does it?
It's a really good thing.
Yeah.
Because it shines a light on what you do and gives you an objective assessment of where you're at. And it's not to blame or to catch people out. It's to look at service improvement to make service better for the public. But there are consequences to it. So if for argument's sake, on our inspection, one part of the terms of reference looks at how effective we are at dealing with serious and organised crime. Now, broadly speaking, if we say we had 5 criminal syndicates who are supplying drugs, we can deal with 1 or 2 at a time. Can't deal with all 5. So how we prioritise which of those 1 or 2 we deal with needs to be looked at. But then the question has to be asked, well, are the resources the constabulary has to deal with those 1 or 2 right, or should you have more to deal with all 5? That's the sort of thing the inspection might look at.
Right, and going back to the fraud thing and the high tech, the way it's going, and getting these fantastic looking emails from Manx companies, that must bring its own challenges. Have you got enough of that side of things now in place? Because I know you were stretched on that one.
Well, what we've done on that, so during the first lockdown period, we took from the Cabinet Office a department called OXIA, Office of Cyber Security and Information Assurance. Now that does work to prevent people from becoming defrauded online. So it has the suspicious email reporting service, suspicious text, and it's
never going to apply for anymore. But I send those.
It's a fantastic little team because they do loads of work behind the scenes with the telecom providers to keep people safe. And we've also done great work with the high street banks. So we have a thing called the banking protocol. And today, as we speak, a bank's phoned up to say we're concerned about the behaviour of one of our customers who we think is being defrauded by somebody off the island. So police officers will intervene, try and persuade people, listen, that £50,000 you're sending to somebody who's in the American army and wants to come out and is going to come and live with you because they love you and they're going to marry you, that's not real. Sometimes people will pay the money away even after we've intervened, but that sort of stuff...
A lot of them only hear about it, of course.
Yes.
Most people don't even want to go public on that sort of stuff.
They don't.
Terrifying.
That happens a lot. Yeah. So prevention is the key to that. In terms of cyber offending, detection is really hard, prevention is key. But the other side of it is in the last 2 years, we've had a 100% increase in the work of our own cyber team here. So that's in terms of examining digital devices to get evidence. 100% increase in 2 years.
Do you do it here or go away?
We do it here. We've got it just along from my office. We've got
because you send it away, I'm sure.
No, we will send some away, but we've got our own team now who do digital forensic work, and they are really, really busy and they do fantastic stuff. But the growth is almost exponential, really, in their work.
Break it down to petty and the really serious stuff. How's that one on your graph go for us these days?
So in the report, if you take time to read the report, you'll see that we look at harms and we use a tool that came from the Office of National Statistics, and that determines the harm that's caused by crime. For some time now, the most serious harm on the island has been caused by sexual offending. So people who've been abused when they're growing up or abused by partners or who've been raped. That's still the most significant
historical,
most harmful. Well, it could be historical. Yeah. That's the most significant and harmful crime. But the harms caused by drugs are now equal to it, and that's a change over the last couple of years. But context is important. This is a supremely safe place. So the challenge for the whole of the community is to keep it safe, and that means we must all work together to understand the threat posed by drugs, to understand how young people can become involved in the drugs supply and stop them. In 2011, one young person was dealt with for a drug supply offence. Last year we dealt with 28. That change is really significant, and as a community we should see that as a real issue.
You were struck with COVID massively, you were holding back when we last chatted about not getting support with your jabs and that sort of thing. Sort of question really, are you getting the support you want from things? So that you still didn't get on that.
We had a place in the queue, and we understood our place in the queue. I was really concerned when I spoke to you that the service could fall over, and it came very close to falling over. And I speak every fortnight to my counterparts in Jersey, Guernsey, and Gibraltar. And of all the services, Guernsey almost completely collapsed during one of the lockdown periods because they lost half their staff virtually overnight. We came close in the first one, and we came in some ways closer in the third one. If we have someone threatening someone with a weapon and there are no armed police officers to go, that's a dreadful situation to find ourselves in. So we could have got to that situation. So we get loads of support from the rest of the public service. We've got a government and a parliament who listen to us and I think understand the issues that we've got.
Yeah, but you made it very clear you wanted those chaps. I mean, you didn't hold back, and you didn't get them. I mean, to me, that sounds like you weren't getting support.
No, but that's the nature of the game, and I know
you were
so much.
Pretty upset about it.
No, I wasn't upset at all.
Well, you looked like you were.
No, I wasn't upset. I know what
you asked for something and you didn't get it. You wouldn't ask unless you wanted it.
Well, I know what I know, and I don't know what the health minister knows. So the health minister has got difficult policy decisions to make, and he makes them in good faith, and once he's made them, that's the right decision.
Okay.
I sometimes will, very rarely now do I do it, I did it when I was younger, I will sometimes say what I think in public, but it's very rare that I do that.
I know it is, that's what I mean, and that was one of the times that you did go put your head above the parapet.
But I've also got a constituency, if you like, to play to, which is my colleagues need to know that I support them.
Yes.
And it was causing anxiety for police officers, feeling that they were vulnerable and feeling that they were being put into situations with people who were potentially infected and they didn't necessarily have the protection. So I have to articulate their views sometimes.
Well, I offered to donate a jab scheme, but no one picked up on that. I just thought, assaults and the treatment of police officers over the years, it seems to, like the UK, people spitting more or hitting back and that sort of thing. Is there a trend there?
There's a significant trend. In July last year, we had 14 police officers assaulted.
14?
14 in 1 month.
When you say assaulted, though, how much of an assault?
Some quite nasty assaults. Kicks in the face, punches, spitting into their mouths and eyes.
Spitting now is a really issue, isn't it?
Spitting's a real issue.
COVID or anything else?
So we had almost 60 officers assaulted last year, which is almost twice what it would normally be. We see a link to two things: how young people are behaving and the respect they're showing, not just to the police but to authority in general. Most young people are fantastic, but some have got issues. And then we see a link to the pandemic in terms of anger and anxiety, and sometimes that manifests itself in people taking it out on the police. It's a safe place and officers here are safe, but the number of assaults was unacceptably high, absolutely unacceptably high. And it's continuing this year. So last weekend we had 3 officers assaulted, 2 of them by teenagers. And when we say teenagers assaulting them, teenagers are some big kids who sometimes have taken substances, and their behaviour is awful. And you know, one officer got kicked in the mouth last week, and that's just simply unacceptable.
But the court's backing up on it. I mean, they're quite heavy-handed.
The courts have long been very supportive of the police and people who assault police officers.
And it's the same old people. I mean, was it?
Well,
diluting
it can be. Some people don't get on with the police and will assault them. But what worries me is that young people see it as the right thing to do, and that we have to stop that. And in the report as well, we stop it by. We have to make sure young people are familiar with police officers and trust them. And most young people understand that.
You go to school still, don't you? Do
we still go to schools, and we're just revising how we do our schools work. I think because our budget was cut so much quite a few years ago, 8-9 years ago, that led to a reduction in that school work, which has led to less familiarity with young people. So we're overcoming that, I think, now. But there is a reduction in the approach that some young people take to authority figures. So if you went and spoke to a secondary school head instead of me, they would probably say some of the same things I'm saying. Right. So some of the issues are difficult. Some of them might be linked to the pandemic as well.
The full thing's available online. It's great reading. How many pages this year?
It's loads, hundreds.
Right, hundreds. Just to finish with, this is one more report.
One more.
Have you talk about this, the
Always-
countdown goes
always
on.
one more.
Have you got a successor yet?
No, so I will advertise imminently for a Deputy Chief Constable. So I don't have one at the moment.
So
I'll
there will be that
advertise
sort
for
of
deputy.
handover moment.
So the intention, it might not work out, is that we recruit someone. There'll be local applicants who will apply. We may well get applicants from the UK, and the best person will be given training and development to help them, in theory, replace me
And you go where?
next year,
Just after your report and after Tim Moulton?
whenever I feel like
Oh,
it.
so as and when, I love it. I should mention,
Certainly no later than the end of next year.
I've been sort of thinking that this Tynwald Day might be quite exciting. The last minute might have some heads and important people, but how's it for you that sort of day? I mean,
Tynwald Day is
policing.
always exciting. The biggest challenges this weekend will be around Ramsey Rocks. Will be busy. It's always busy. Get a lot of people at that. And then football, England playing at 8 o'clock on a Saturday night would not be our choice really. So I think we'll have a challenging 4 or 5 hours tomorrow evening.